I wasn't supposed to be home. That's the thing about betrayal. It never announces itself. It just waits until you walk through the door at the wrong moment, and then it detonates your entire life. I'd left work early because of a migraine. The kind that makes light feel like knives. I drove home in silence, sunglasses on even though it was overcast, just wanting my bed and the blackout curtains in my childhood room. My childhood room. The one I'd moved back into 3 years ago when Dad had his stroke. The house was supposed to be empty. Mom had her book club on Thursdays. Dad at physical therapy. I used my key quietly because the migraine made every sound feel like it was happening inside my skull. That's when I heard them. "She's been here long enough, don't you think?" Mom's voice carried from the kitchen. Not angry. Casual. Like she was discussing what to make for dinner. I froze in the hallway. The door was half open. "Kevin needs the space more." Dad's voice. Stronger than it had been in months. "He's graduating in December. He'll need somewhere to stay while he looks for jobs." Exactly. And Sarah's been settled for years now. She has a good job. She can't afford her own place. Sarah. That's me. I should have walked away. I should have announced myself, made noise, pretended I hadn't heard. But I didn't. I stood there like a statue, my purse still on my shoulder, keys digging into my palm. "What do we tell her?" Dad asked. There was a pause. I heard the coffee maker gurgling. Mom was making her afternoon cup. Just a normal Thursday. We just explained that Kevin needs to come home for a while. She'll understand. She's always been the reasonable one. The reasonable one. I'd been the reasonable one when Dad had the stroke and someone needed to move back home to help. Kevin was in his sophomore year of college, 2 states away. He can't interrupt his education, they'd said. So I came home. Put my own life on pause. I'd been the reasonable one when they needed help with a mortgage after Dad couldn't work. I paid rent. More than rent. I covered groceries half the time. Covered Dad's co-pays when insurance wouldn't. I'd been the reasonable one when Kevin needed a new laptop for school, when he needed money for his fraternity dues, when he totaled his car and needed help with a deductible. He's got so much pressure. Mom always said, college is hard. And I'd been reasonable. Every single time. When should we tell her? Dad's voice again. Soon. Kevin wants to move back by January. That gives her 2 months to find something. 2 months. I've lived here for 3 years. 3 years of putting my life on hold. 3 years of watching my friends get promotions because they could stay late at work, while I rushed home to make dinner. 3 years of canceling plans because Dad had a bad day and needed someone there. 3 years of sleeping in a twin bed surrounded by my high school swimming trophies and posters I'd never taken down, and they were giving me 2 months. Do you think she'll be upset? Dad asked. Mom laughed. Actually laughed. Sarah? She never makes waves. She'll be fine. Honestly, this might be good for her. She's been too comfortable here. A little push might be what she needs. Too comfortable. I thought about the last 3 years. Coming home to cook dinner while they watch TV. Cleaning Dad's bathroom after he'd had accidents he was too embarrassed to mention. Listening to Mom complain about her friends while I did laundry. Driving Dad to appointments. Picking up prescriptions. Learning how to do physical therapy exercises so I could help him between sessions. Too comfortable. I thought about my ex, Marcus. The one who'd left me because you're never available anymore. Because I'd missed his birthday dinner to take Dad to the ER. Because I'd turned down a weekend trip to stay home when Mom had the flu. You've made your choice, he'd said when he walked out. You've chosen them over building your own life. I'd cried for weeks. Told myself he didn't understand. Told myself family came first. And now my family was choosing my brother over me. Kevin, who called once a month if we were lucky. Kevin, who came home for Christmas and spent the whole time with his friends. Kevin, who forgot Dad's birthday last year. Kevin, who still hadn't paid me back the $800 I'd loaned him for his spring break trip. Kevin, who needed the space more. I don't remember deciding to leave. One moment I was standing in the hallway, and the next I was sitting in my car 3 blocks away, shaking so hard I couldn't hold my phone steady. The migraine was gone. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe everything just hurt so much that one more pain didn't register. I went to Carrie's house. Carrie, my best friend from high school, who'd been telling me for 2 years that I needed to move out. That my parents were taking advantage of me. That I was sacrificing too much. You need to think about yourself for once, she always said. I'd never listen. Don't. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. I told her everything. The entire conversation I'd overheard. Every word I could remember. Those absolute, She caught herself, sat down next to me on her couch. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I did everything right, I whispered. My voice sounded strange, hollow. I came home when they needed me. I helped. I put my life on pause. And I'm disposable. You're not disposable. Then why am I being replaced? She didn't have an answer for that night. I stayed at Carrie's. I called in sick to work the next day. I couldn't face going home. Couldn't face seeing them and pretending I didn't know. Carrie's husband, Tom, worked in property management. Over breakfast, he pulled up apartment listings on his laptop. You need to get out of there, he said. Not unkindly. Just matter of fact. You need your own life back. I scrolled through listings. One-bedroom apartments I could barely afford. Studios with kitchenettes and views of parking lots. Places that cost more than what I was paying my parents, but that came without the expectation that I'd sacrifice everything. This one's nice, Carrie said, pointing to a small one-bedroom. Ground floor, close to your work. And look, it's available now. Available now. I could move out before they even asked me to leave. I could take back the power they were planning to strip from me. I could show them that I wasn't just the reasonable one, the convenient one, the daughter had always been. I'll apply, I heard myself say. I got approved that afternoon. First month's rent plus deposit wiped out most of my savings. The savings I'd been building to finally take a vacation. To finally do something for myself. Instead, I was finding my way out of my own family. I didn't tell them right away. I couldn't. Part of me wanted to hear them say it. Wanted to watch them try to convince me that kicking me out was somehow for my own good. But I went home that evening. Smiled when they asked how my day was. Made dinner like I always did. Helped Dad with his exercises. Watched Mom scroll through her phone, laughing at something Kevin had posted on social media. He'd gotten an award. Some fraternity thing. She showed it to Dad, beaming. Isn't he wonderful? She said. Wonderful, Dad agreed. Neither of them looked at me. I excused myself after dinner. Went to my room. Started packing. Quietly, methodically. Clothes first. Books. The few things that mattered. I left the swimming trophies. Left the posters. Left everything that belonged to the version of me who'd believed that love was unconditional. 3 days later, I loaded the last box into my car while they were both out. I'd done it in stages. A little at a time. They'd never noticed. I left a note on the kitchen table. Short. Simple. Found my own place. Moved out today. Kevin can have the room whenever he needs it. I didn't leave a forwarding address. Carrie helped me unpack in the new apartment. It was small. The carpet was old. The bathroom faucet dripped. But it was mine. Every inch of it was mine. Mom called that evening. 6 times. Then Dad. Then Mom again. I let it ring. Finally, I answered. Sarah? Where are you? What's going on? Mom's voice was frantic. Not worried. Annoyed. Like I'd inconvenienced her. I moved out. You. What? Why? We didn't. When did you? I overheard you. My voice was steady. Calm. I didn't recognize it. Thursday. I heard you planning to kick me out for Kevin. Silence. Then, Sarah, that's not. We weren't. I'm the reasonable one, right? So I reasoned that you didn't need me anymore. Problem solved. Honey, if you've just let us explain. Explain what? That my brother needs this space more? That I've been too comfortable? I heard everything, Mom. More silence. In the background, I could hear Dad asking what was happening. We were going to talk to you, Mom finally said. We were going to have a conversation. A conversation where you told me to leave. At least this way, I left on my own terms. Sarah, please. Come home. We can figure this out. I am home. I hung up. The text started immediately. Mom. Dad. Even Kevin, finally breaking his monthly silence to ask what was going on. Apparently, my leaving had interrupted his plans. I blocked them all. Not forever. Just for now. Just until I could breathe without feeling like my chest was caving in. Carrie brought over pizza that night. We sat on my new living room floor, eating from the box because I hadn't unpacked plates yet. How do you feel? She asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Free, I finally said. And completely destroyed. She nodded. That sounds about right. The apartment was quiet after she left. The kind of quiet that makes you aware of every sound. The fridge humming. The upstairs neighbor walking around. The drip from the bathroom faucet I still hadn't fixed. No one calling for help. No one needing dinner. No one expecting me to drop everything. No one choosing someone else over me. I sat on the floor of my empty living room and let myself cry. Really cry. For the first time in 3 years. For the daughter they'd never valued as much as their son. For the version of myself who'd believed that sacrifice would be recognized. For the family I'd thought I had, but apparently never did. When I finally stopped, my face was swollen and my throat was raw. But I felt lighter. The next morning, I woke up in my own space, made coffee in my own kitchen, got ready for work without anyone asking me to do something first. On my way out, I saw Mom's car in the parking lot. She was sitting behind the wheel, phone in her hand, staring at my building. She saw me. Started to get out. I got in my car and drove away. She called. I didn't answer. At work, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Kevin's girlfriend. My aunt. Family friends. They all said the same thing. Your parents are so worried. You are breaking their hearts. Family is everything. Not one of them asked how I was doing. Not one of them asked why I'd left. They just assumed I was in the wrong for disrupting the plan. For not being reasonable. I turned off my phone and threw myself into work. My boss noticed. You seem different, she said. More focused. I moved out of my parents' house, I told her. She nodded slowly. Good. You've been spread too thin. After work, I went home. To my home. Unpacked another box. Hung up some curtains. Made dinner for one. It should have felt sad. Instead, it felt like breathing after being underwater for 3 years. 2 weeks passed. The call slowed down. Then stopped. Apparently, I'd committed the ultimate sin. I'd enforced a boundary. I ran into my mom at the grocery store. She looked older. Tired. She saw me and froze. Sarah. Mom. We stood there in the produce section, strangers with the same last name. Your father misses you, she finally said. Not I miss you. Not we were wrong. Just. Dad misses you. How's Kevin's room coming along? I asked. Her face tightened. He decided to get an apartment with friends instead. Near campus. Of course he did. So they'd pushed me out for nothing. Kevin didn't even want the room. He probably never had. They'd just assumed he would, and that was enough to make me expendable. Sarah, please. Can we talk? We are talking. Really talk. Come to dinner. We can. I can't. I pushed my cart forward. I have plans. I didn't have plans. But I had something better. I had a life that didn't revolve around being the backup daughter. The reasonable one. The one who could be counted on to disappear when someone more important needed space. 3 months later, I got a promotion. The one I'd missed out on before because I couldn't stay late, couldn't travel, couldn't be flexible. My boss called me into her office and told me they'd been impressed with my dedication lately. Whatever changed, she said, keep doing it. What changed was that I'd stopped setting myself on fire to keep other people warm. I bought new furniture for the apartment. Real furniture, not hand-me-downs. Booked a weekend trip with Carrie. Started going to the gym again. Did all the things I'd stopped doing when I'd moved home. I rebuilt myself piece by piece. But every time I saw our father and daughter together, something inside me cracked. Every time I heard someone talk about family dinner, I felt the absence like a missing tooth, painful when I touched it. I'd gained my freedom. But the cost was realizing that the family I'd sacrificed everything for had been willing to sacrifice me without hesitation. 6 months after I moved out, Dad had another stroke. A small one. Mom called from the hospital. I saw her name on my screen and my hand shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. I answered. He's okay, she said immediately. He's going to be okay. But Sarah, I need you. 3 words. I need you. Not I'm sorry. Not we were wrong. Just, I need you. And for a moment, just a moment, I felt that old pull. That old instinct to drop everything and run to them. To be the reasonable one. To be the daughter who came when she was called. But then I remembered the kitchen door. The casual way they discussed erasing me from their lives. The 2 months' notice they'd been planning to give me like I was a tenant, not their child. I'm sorry, I said. And I was. But I can't. Sarah, please. I hope Dad recovers quickly. I really do. But I can't be who you need me to be anymore. I hung up before she could respond, and then I sat on my couch in my apartment, my home, and cried. Again. Because doing the right thing for yourself doesn't always feel right. Sometimes it just feels like another kind of loss. But I didn't go. And slowly, painfully, I learned to live with that choice. The text started 3 weeks after Dad's second stroke. Not from Mom or Dad. From Kevin. "Hey, I know things are weird, but can we talk?" I stared at the message for 10 minutes before responding. Kevin, who hadn't bothered to reach out once in 6 months. Kevin, who'd apparently decided against moving home after all. Kevin, who'd been silent through everything. About what? I typed back. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Mom and Dad. They're struggling. I think we need to figure something out." We. As if this was a shared problem. As if he'd been there. "What do you suggest?" I asked, already knowing where this was going. "Can I come by? Easier to talk in person." Against my better judgment, I gave him my address. He showed up the next day, driving a new Audi. I watched him park from my window, noticed how he checked his hair in the rearview mirror before getting out. He looked good. Dan. Healthy. Like someone whose biggest concern was which happy hour to attend. I opened a door before he could knock. "Nice place," he said, stepping inside. He didn't hug me. We'd never been huggers. "Way better than your old room." "Thanks." He sat on my couch without being invited, looked around like he was appraising the space. "So you've been doing okay?" "I've been fine." "Good. That's good." He leaned forward, hands clasped. This was his serious face. The one he used when he wanted something. "Look, I'm not going to pretend I know everything that happened. Mom tried to explain, but you know how she is. But the thing is, they really need help right now. They have you. I'm 4 hours away. I'm starting a new job next month. I can't just drop everything." The irony was so thick I could taste it. "But you could when it was me," I said quietly. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. "That was different. You were already established here. You had a job, a routine. I was in school. I had a life, Kevin. I had plans. I had a boyfriend who left me because I was never available. I had a promotion I missed because I couldn't travel. I had friends I stopped seeing because I was too busy being the free and home caregiver. I know, and I appreciate that. We all do. But Sarah," he ran his hand through his hair, "Dad needs help. Real help. Mom can't do it alone." "She has you." I just said. "No." I stood up. "You said you can't drop everything." But that's exactly what I did. For 3 years. And the moment I wasn't convenient anymore, I was disposable. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Kevin. My voice was rising. I couldn't stop it. "Do you know why I left? Do you actually know? Mom said you guys had a fight. I overheard them. Planning to kick me out, to make room for you. After 3 years of putting my life on hold, they were going to give me 2 months to find somewhere else to live because the golden child might need a place to stay." He went pale. Actually pale. "I didn't know that." "Of course you didn't. Because nobody tells you anything difficult. Nobody expects anything from you. You get to be the son with potential while I get to be the daughter with responsibility." "Sarah, did you even plan to move home? Or was that just something they assumed?" He looked away. That was answer enough. "They pushed me out for a plan that didn't even exist." I laughed, and it sounded broken even to my own ears. I lost 3 years of my life for people who were planning my exit strategy while I was making their dinner. "I'm sorry." He said it quietly. "They're really struggling," Kevin finally said. "Dad fell last week. Mom called me crying because she couldn't lift him. They need more than she can give. Then they need to hire someone. With what money? The medical bills are crushing them. Not my problem anymore." He flinched like I'd hit him. "She's our mother. He's our father. And I'm their daughter." But that didn't seem to matter when they were planning to replace me. "So what? You're just done? You're going to let them suffer because your feelings got hurt?" My feelings got hurt. Like I'd overreacted to a minor slight. Like 3 years of my life meant nothing. "Get out," I said. "Sarah. Get out of my apartment, Kevin. Go back to your new job and your new car and your life that nobody ever asked you to pause. And don't come back here pretending we're a team where you've never once had my back." He stood up. Looked at me like he didn't recognize me. "You've changed." "No. I just stopped being convenient." After he left, I sat in the silence of my apartment and felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a vast, empty nothing where my family used to be. The calls started again after that. Mom. Dad's number, which meant Mom was using his phone. My aunt. My grandmother. Each one with the same message. How could I abandon my family in their time of need? Not one of them mentioned how easily they'd been willing to abandon me. I changed my number. Started over. Again. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into projects, stayed late, volunteered for assignments nobody else wanted. My boss noticed. My colleagues noticed. Within 3 months, I was promoted again. Senior account manager. Corner office. Salary that finally let me breathe. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow. Like I'd won a prize I didn't want, in a game I'd never agreed to play. Carrie threw me a promotion party. 20 people crammed into my apartment, laughing and drinking and celebrating my success. All of them were coworkers and friends I'd made since leaving. None of them knew the old me. The tired, stretched-in version who'd been slowly disappearing. Speech. Someone called out. I stood there with a glass of wine, looking at all these people who'd become my makeshift family, and couldn't think of a single thing to say. Thank you for being here, I finally managed. It means everything. Later, after everyone left, Carrie stayed to help clean up. You okay? She asked, loading paper plates into a trash bag. I don't know. I sat on the couch, exhausted. I should be happy, right? This is what I wanted. My own life. My own success. But I keep waiting for it to feel like winning. Instead, it just feels like I traded one kind of lonely for another. She sat next to me. You know you didn't do anything wrong, right? Then why does it feel like I did? Because they trained you to feel that way. That's what narcissistic families do. They make the scapegoat feel guilty for not sacrificing themselves on the altar of the golden child. I'd been reading about family dynamics. Scapegoat. Golden child. Enablers. All these clinical terms for the nightmare I'd lived through. It helped to have names for things. Made it feel less personal. More like a pattern I'd been caught in rather than something uniquely wrong with me. I saw Kevin today, I said. Carrie's expression darkened. What did he want? He wanted me to come back. To help. Dad's getting worse. And I said no. Good. Is it? I looked at her. What if something happens to him? What if he dies and I wasn't there? Then he dies knowing he chose his son over his daughter. That's on him, Sarah. Not you. But it didn't feel that simple. Nothing ever did. 2 months later, I met someone. Daniel. He was a consultant for one of our client companies. Tall, funny, kind. We met during a project meeting and he asked me to dinner. Actual dinner, not drinks. Not coffee. Dinner. I almost said no. Almost made up an excuse. But Carrie's voice was in my head. You deserve good things. Stop punishing yourself. So I said yes. The dinner was perfect. He was perfect. We talked for 3 hours, until the restaurant staff started stacking chairs around us. He walked me to my car, asked if he could see me again. I'd like that, I heard myself say. We dated for 3 months before I told him about my family. About why I didn't talk to them. About the overheard conversation and the 3 years I'd lost. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. That's unforgivable, he finally said. What they did. That's not how family works. Sometimes I wonder if I overreacted. You didn't. He took my hand. You set a boundary. A reasonable one. And they can't handle it because it's easier to have you back than to admit they were wrong. It was exactly what I needed to hear. Things were good. Really good. For the first time in years, I felt like I was building something real. A career. A relationship. A life that was mine. Then, 8 months after I walked away, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Sarah? It's Aunt Diane. I should have hung up. Instead, I waited. I'm calling from the hospital. Your father had a major stroke. He's in ICU. Your mother asked me to tell you. My hands went numb. Is he? He's stable. For now. But Sarah, you need to come. Whatever happened between you, he's your father. He's asking for you. He's asking for me. He can't speak much, but he keeps saying your name. I sat down on my couch. Daniel was there, watching me with concern. I didn't know what expression was on my face. I'll think about it, I said. Sarah, he might not have much time. I said I'll think about it. I hung up. Daniel moved closer. What happened? I told him. Watched his face as he processed it. What do you want to do? He asked. I don't know. And I didn't. Part of me wanted to run to that hospital. To be the dutiful daughter one more time. To make peace before it was too late. But another part, the part that had been born when I heard that kitchen conversation, wondered if this was just another manipulation. Another way to pull me back into the dysfunction. To make me feel guilty. To punish me for choosing myself. You don't owe them anything, Daniel said. But you might owe yourself closure. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about Dad, about the man he'd been before the stroke. Before everything fell apart, he'd taught me to swim, came to every meet, told me I could do anything. But he'd also sat in that kitchen and agreed that I should be the one to leave. That Kevin needed the space more, that I'd been too comfortable. Which version was the real him? Maybe both. Maybe people were complicated. Maybe you could love someone and still hurt them. Maybe family was messy and imperfect and sometimes unforgivable. I went to the hospital the next day, alone. Daniel offered to come, but this was something I needed to do myself. The ICU was cold and sterile and smelled like antiseptic. Mom was in the waiting room. She looked 10 years older. When she saw me, her face crumpled. Sarah. Oh, Sarah, thank God. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. How is he? Not good. They don't know if... Her voice broke. I'm so glad Dad came. Where's Kevin? Her face did something complicated. He's coming tomorrow. He had something he couldn't get out of. Of course he did. Can I see him? She nodded, led me down the hallway. Her hand reached for mine. I let her take it. It felt like holding a stranger's hand. Dad was smaller than I remembered. The machines beeped around him, tracking heartbeats and oxygen levels. His eyes were closed. An oxygen mask covered half his face. He's been in and out, Mom said quietly. But he keeps saying your name. I sat in the chair next to his bed, looked at this man who'd helped create me and then casually planned to erase me from his life. His eyes opened, focused on me. Something like recognition flickered there. Sarah, he whispered. His voice was barely audible under the mask. I'm here, Dad. His hand moved, reaching for mine. I took it. His skin was papery and cool. Sorry, he said. Just that one word. But his eyes were wet. And I felt nothing. I should have felt something. Anger. Sadness. Forgiveness. Something. But sitting there, holding his hand, watching him struggle to breathe, I just felt empty. I'd come for closure. For answers. For some grand moment of reconciliation or catharsis. Instead, I got a sorry that came too late and meant too little. I stayed for an hour. Mom cried. Dad drifted in and out. I sat there like a statue, playing the role of dutiful daughter one last time. When I left, Mom walked me to the elevator. Will you come back? She asked. Please. I don't know. Sarah, I know we hurt you. I know we made mistakes. But he's your father. And, she hesitated. And I'm your mother. We love you. We've always loved you. Then why wasn't that enough? The question came out before I could stop it. Why wasn't I enough? She didn't have an answer. Or maybe she did, but it wasn't one I wanted to hear. I left the hospital and drove home. Daniel was waiting. He held me while I cried. Not for what I was losing, but for what I'd never really had. The family I'd imagined. The parents who would choose me. The brother who would see me as more than an inconvenience. Dad died 3 days later. Kevin made it home just in time. Mom called to tell me. I listened to her cry on the phone, said the appropriate things, and felt that same hollow nothing. The funeral was small. I went because not going would have made me the villain. I wore black, sat in the back, watched people I hadn't seen in years come up to tell me they were sorry for my loss. None of them knew there'd been a loss long before Dad died. Kevin gave the eulogy, talked about what a great father Dad had been, how much he'd sacrificed, how proud he was of his children. I stared at my hands and said nothing. At the reception, people kept finding me, touching my arm, saying things like he was so proud of you and family is everything. I smiled, nodded, played my part. Mom found me as I was leaving. Don't disappear again, she said. Please, Sarah. You're all I have left. I looked at her. This woman who'd given birth to me and then spent years showing me exactly where I ranked in her list of priorities. I'm sorry for your loss, I said. Then I left. I didn't go back. 3 months after Dad's funeral, I got a letter from an attorney, stared at the return address for 5 minutes before opening it. Estate of Thomas Mitchell. My father's full name. It felt strange, seeing it typed out like that. Official. Final. The letter requested my presence at a reading of the will. 2 weeks from now. Please confirm attendance. I called the number listed. Mitchell Estate. A professional voice answered. This is Sarah Mitchell. I received a letter about my father's will. Yes, Ms. Mitchell. We need all beneficiaries present for the reading. Will you be able to attend? Beneficiaries. Plural. Who else is coming? Your mother and brother. The reading is scheduled for Tuesday the 15th at 2 p.m. I hadn't seen Mom since the funeral, hadn't spoken to Kevin at all. The thought of sitting in a room with them, dividing up Dad's possessions like we were still a family, made my stomach turn. I'll be there, I heard myself say. Daniel offered to come with me. I almost said yes, but this was something I needed to face alone. The law office was downtown. Expensive. The kind of place with marble floors and abstract art on the walls. I arrived 10 minutes early and sat in the waiting area, watching the clock. Mom arrived next. She looked smaller somehow, older. Her hair had gone almost entirely gray. Sarah. She tried to smile. How have you been? Fine. Good. That's good. You look well. Are you still at the same job? Yes. The conversation died. We sat there, two strangers who shared DNA, with nothing left to say to each other. Kevin burst in 5 minutes late, tie loosened, phone pressed to his ear. He nodded at us, held up one finger, kept talking. Something about quarterly projections. Some things never changed. The attorney, a thin man named Harrison, led us into a conference room. Leather chairs. A long table. Windows overlooking the city. This was where they divided up lives. Harrison opened a folder, adjusted his glasses. Thank you all for coming. I'll make this as brief as possible. Thomas Mitchell's will is straightforward. To his wife, Margaret Mitchell, he leaves the house and all its contents, along with his life insurance policy. Mom's shoulders sagged with relief. The house was paid off. The life insurance would keep her comfortable. To his son, Kevin Mitchell, he leaves his coin collection in his 1967 Mustang. Kevin perked up. The Mustang? Really? Dad had restored that car over 10 years. It was his pride and joy, worth at least $40,000. And to his daughter, Sarah Mitchell, Harrison paused, looked up at me. He leaves a letter. The room went silent. I'm sorry? I said. A letter. To be delivered only to you, to be read privately. That constitutes the entirety of your inheritance. Mom's face went white. That can't be right. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake, Mrs. Mitchell. These were your husband's explicit wishes, updated 6 months before his passing. 6 months. After I'd left. After he knew I wasn't coming back. Kevin shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should. We can figure something out. Split things differently. The will is legally binding, Harrison said. However, the family is free to make their own arrangements outside of the legal distribution. He handed me an envelope. Thick. Cream-colored. My name in Dad's handwriting. I took it with numb fingers. Is there anything else? Mom asked. Her voice was sharp. Angry. That concludes the reading. If you have questions about the estate, you can reach me at the number on my card. We filed out. In the elevator, Kevin cleared his throat. Sarah, listen. About the Mustang. If you want, we could sell it and split. Keep it, I said. Are you sure? I don't want anything from him. The doors opened. We stepped into the lobby. Mom grabbed my arm. What does the letter say? I haven't read it. Well, read it now. I pulled my arm away. No. Sarah, this is ridiculous. He was your father. You can't just. He left me a letter, Mom. Not the house. Not the life insurance. Not even a share of his precious car. A letter. So whatever he had to say, he can say it to me. Not to you. Her face crumpled. After everything I did for you. Everything you did for me? The laugh that came out of me was ugly. You mean like planning to kick me out? Like expecting me to sacrifice my life while Kevin got to live his? Like calling me when you needed help but never once asking how I was doing? You're being unfair. I'm being honest. There's a difference. I walked away, left them standing there in that marble lobby, looking at each other like they couldn't understand what had just happened. In my car, I sat with the letter in my lap. The envelope felt heavy, important, like it held answers I wasn't sure I wanted. I drove to a park, found a bench overlooking a pond, watched ducks glide across the water, leaving ripples in their wake. Then I opened the envelope. The letter was 3 pages, single-spaced. His handwriting was shaky but legible. Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for that. Not for dying, necessarily, but for all the things I should have said when I was alive and didn't. I know you overheard us that day. Your mother told me after you left. She tried to smooth it over, to make it sound less harsh than it was. But I remember what we said. I remember agreeing that you should leave. That Kevin needed the space more. I was wrong. Not just wrong, cruel. Thoughtlessly, carelessly cruel. You came home when I needed you. You put your life on hold. You took care of me when I couldn't take care of myself. You were there for every appointment, every therapy session, every bad day. And I repaid you by planning your exit. I want to tell you why, not because it excuses anything, but because you deserve the truth. Kevin was always easier for me to love. That's a horrible thing to admit, but it's true. He was the son I'd wanted, the athlete, the charmer. He reminded me of myself at that age. You were different. Quieter. More serious. You didn't need me the same way. Or maybe I told myself that because it was easier than admitting I was failing you. When you moved back home, I was grateful. But I also resented it. Resented needing help. Resented the stroke that had turned me into half the man I used to be. And somewhere along the way, that resentment attached itself to you. To the person who saw me at my weakest. Kevin got to visit and leave. He got to see me on good days, when I was dressed and presentable. You saw everything. The accidents. The failures. The decline. And I hated that. I hated that you knew how far I'd fallen. So when your mother suggested making room for Kevin, I agreed. Not because he needed it more, but because pushing you away was easier than thanking you. Easier than acknowledging how much I needed you and how much I hated needing anyone. I know that's not fair. None of this is fair. You left before we could have that conversation. Before I could ask you to leave, which is the one thing I'm grateful for. You took your power back. You chose yourself. And even though it hurt, even though your mother cried for weeks, I was proud of you. I know you won't believe that. Why would you? But it's true. I didn't leave you money or property because I know you don't need it. You've built a life without us. A good life. I see your name on your company's website. Senior account manager. That's my girl. No. That's your accomplishment. You did that. Not me. I'm leaving you this letter because it's the only thing I have left to give. It might matter. The truth. An apology. And permission to let us go. You don't owe us anything, Sarah. Not your mother. Not your brother. Not even my memory. You gave us 3 years. That's more than we deserved. Your mother will be angry about the will. She'll say I should have split things equally. But equal isn't always fair. Kevin will be fine. He's always been fine. Your mother will be comfortable. She has the house and the insurance. You needed something different. You needed to know that I saw what happened. That I understood. That I was sorry. I wish I'd said this while I was alive. I wish I'd called you after you left and told you that you were right. That we used you. Dad, we took advantage of your kindness and blamed you when you finally set a boundary. But I didn't. Because I was proud and stubborn and too much of a coward to admit I'd failed you. So I'm saying it now, even though it's too late. I love you. I've always loved you. I just didn't know how to show it in a way that mattered. I'm sorry, Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. The ducks were still there. The water was still calm. Nothing had changed and everything had changed. A family doesn't plan to kick someone out. A family doesn't take advantage of their daughter's sacrifice and then toss her aside when someone more important needs space. A family doesn't let one child do everything while the other gets celebrated for showing up. We made mistakes. I've said I'm sorry. No, you haven't. Not really. You've said you're sorry things turned out this way. You're sorry I'm upset. But you've never said you were sorry for what you actually did. Her face hardened. What do you want from me, Sarah? You want me to grovel? To spend the rest of my life apologizing? I did the best I could. We both did. Your best wasn't good enough. She flinched. Set the casserole dish on the porch. Fine. If that's how you feel, fine. But don't come crying to me when you're old and alone and you realize you threw away your family over hurt feelings. I didn't throw them away. You discarded me. There's a difference. She left. I watched her car pull away, then took the casserole dish inside. Chicken and rice. The kind she used to make when I was sick. I threw it away without tasting it. Daniel found me sitting on the kitchen floor an hour later, Charlie's head in my lap. You okay? She came here. Brought food. Acted like nothing happened. Like I'm the one being unreasonable. He sat next to me. What did you say? The truth. That we're not a family anymore. How do you feel? Lighter. Sadder. I don't know. Both. That's allowed. Life moved forward. It always does. I went to work. Came home. Walked the dog. Had dinner with Daniel. Spent weekends with Carrie and Tom. Built a routine that didn't include waiting for the other shoe to drop. 6 months later, Kevin got engaged. I saw it on social media. A beach proposal. His girlfriend crying happy tears. Comments flooding in with congratulations. Mom shared it. So proud of my son. No mention of me in months. But Kevin's engagement was worth celebrating. The wedding invitation arrived 3 weeks later. Cream cardstock. Embossed lettering. A+1 line with my name. I threw it away. Kevin called. Did you get the invitation? Yes. And? Congratulations. Sarah, I want you there. You're my sister. Am I? Silence. That's not fair, he finally said. None of this is fair, Kevin. But I'm not coming to your wedding. I'm not going to stand there and smile and pretend we're a happy family. I'm not going to watch Mom cry tears of joy over you while she hasn't spoken to me in months. I'm not going to be the dutiful sister for people who were never dutiful parents. She misses you. Then she knows where to find me. She's afraid you'll reject her. That's rich, considering she rejected me first. He sighed. I'm not asking you to forgive everyone. I'm asking you to come to my wedding. One day. That's all. I'm sorry. I can't. I called Daniel. Can you come pick me up? What's wrong? Nothing. Everything. I don't know. I just need you. He was there in 15 minutes. Took one look at my face and pulled me into his arms. What happened? I handed him the letter. He read it standing there by my car, his expression shifting from confusion to anger to something softer. Sarah, he said when he finished. I know. Do you? He apologized. That's what I wanted, right? That's what I needed. Is it enough? I thought about that. Really thought about it. No, I finally said. It's not enough. It doesn't undo 3 years of being taken for granted. It doesn't fix the damage. It doesn't bring back the relationships I lost or the opportunities I missed. It's just words on paper. But it's something. It's acknowledgement. It's proof that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't overreacting. He knew what they did. He understood. And he chose to tell me that instead of leaving me wondering. Daniel held me while I cried. Again. I was so tired of crying. So tired of processing pain. So tired of carrying this weight. What do you want to do now? He asked. I wanted to go home. To see your mom? No. Home. Our home. We'd moved in together 2 months earlier. A small house with a yard and a dog we'd adopted from the shelter. A rescue mutt named Charlie who'd been abandoned by his previous family. I understood Charlie. That night, we sat on the couch with Charlie between us. Daniel ordered takeout. We watched mindless TV. He didn't push me to talk. Just let me exist in the space between grief and relief. Mom called the next morning. I let it go to voicemail. Sarah, we need to talk about your father's will. This isn't right. Kevin and I agree that you should have gotten more. We want to make this right. Call me back. I deleted it. Kevin texted, seriously considering selling the Mustang and giving you half. Dad would have wanted that. Would he? Or was this guilt talking? The golden child trying to smooth over the uncomfortable truth that Dad had made his priorities clear, even in death. I didn't respond. 3 days later, there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Mom standing there, holding a casserole dish. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Hi, honey. I brought you some food. I know you've been busy and... What do you want, Mom? Her smile faltered. I wanted to see you. To talk. We haven't really spoken since the funeral, and with everything that happened at the lawyer's office. You mean how Dad left me a letter while he gave Kevin a $40,000 car? That's not fair to your father. He was sick. He might not have been thinking clearly when he was thinking clearly. That's the problem. He knew exactly what he was doing. Sarah, please. Can I come in? We need to discuss this as a family. We're not a family. The words hung there between us. Final. True. Of course we are. We've had our problems, but...